With this merger, our vision for the future is not just ambitious, it's inevitable. We're changing the game, and we're just getting started.
My wife is a burden, Ethan Cole said, smiling under crystal lights. The laughter came fast, sharp, echoing across the ballroom walls. Amara didn't react, not even a blink or breath. She set her glass down like it weighed nothing tonight. Cameras flashed, investors nodded, and Ethan owned the room completely. But her eyes stayed still, like she already knew something. What kind of woman hears that and doesn't break? Minutes later, his phone buzzed with a silent alert. A server glitch, then another, then 5 at once. Engineers rushed across screens, voices tight, code failing fast. Ethan frowned, annoyed, tapping commands that did nothing. Why is the system unstable tonight? Someone whispered near him. Amara stepped quietly out of the ballroom, heels soft against marble floors. In the elevator, her reflection didn't shake or fall apart. She opened her phone, typed a single command, then paused. Back upstairs, the system stopped responding completely. This architecture, it's too precise, his CTO muttered, scrolling through layers no one touched. Files opened that had never been reviewed before. Old timestamps. Hidden authors. Ethan leaned closer, irritation turning into something colder. On the screen, one name began to surface beneath the core code. A. Brooks. His breath slowed, just slightly, as if the room tilted. Downstairs, Amara stepped into the night air, slipping her ring off without looking back. Upstairs, the file continued loading, line by line, revealing more than anyone was ready to see, and Ethan realized too late he had just pushed away the one person who could stop what was coming next. The screens did not recover after she left the building. Error messages multiplied across every department dashboard. Revenue tracking froze, then vanished from the main display. A senior engineer slammed his keyboard, whispering something was missing. Ethan stood still, watching numbers drop faster than he could speak. His assistant rushed over, voice low, face drained of color. She used to fix this before anyone noticed, she said. He turned slowly, not fully understanding what she meant. Another alert hit, then another, then 10 at once. Client accounts began locking out without explanation or warning. The support lines filled, then overflowed beyond control. A board member called, demanding answers Ethan did not have. Why is the system rejecting its own commands? Someone asked behind him. The CTO opened deeper layers, files no one accessed in years. Hidden scripts appeared, written with exact precision and control. Every line connected back to the same initials again. A. Brooks. Ethan swallowed, his confidence starting to crack under pressure. A junior analyst spoke up, hesitant but clear. She rebuilt the core after the crash last year. Silence followed, heavier than any accusation in the room. Ethan remembered that night, but not what actually saved them. Another system failed, shutting down external access completely. Investors started pulling inquiries, then delaying commitments immediately. Ethan checked his phone, but her contact remained unanswered. Across the city, Amara sat in a quiet office, screen glowing softly. Her fingers hovered above the keyboard, then moved with calm precision. Back at headquarters, one section flickered back to life briefly. Then it shut down again, harder this time than before. It is like someone is deciding what stays alive, the CTO whispered. Ethan felt something unfamiliar tightening in his chest. Not anger, not control, something closer to fear. He looked at the screen again, watching her name appear deeper inside the system. And for the first time, he asked himself a question he could not ignore. If she stopped holding everything together, how much of his world was ever really his? The conference room downtown was quiet but focused that morning. A mid-sized tech firm gathered around a long glass table. Screens displayed broken systems they could not fix. Amara stood near the edge, calm, listening more than speaking. We have tried everything, the lead engineer admitted softly. She stepped forward, eyes steady, voice low and clear. You are solving symptoms, not the structure beneath it. The room shifted, attention turning toward her without hesitation. She reached for the tablet, scrolling through layers with ease. Within minutes, she pointed to a flaw nobody had noticed. This is where your system breathes wrong, she said simply. Silence followed, then quick movement as they tested her correction. The system stabilized, clean, smooth, almost effortless. One executive leaned back, stunned, studying her with new respect. "Who trained you to see things like this?" he asked. She paused, just for a second, then answered quietly. "I built something like this once." No one laughed. No one questioned her again. By the end of the meeting, chairs turned toward her, not away. A formal offer came across the table, serious, immediate. "We need someone like you leading this," the director said. Outside the room, her name began to travel through quiet conversations. Not loud, not flashy, but steady and undeniable. Across the city, Ethan sat in a dim office, watching reports stack higher. Another partner delayed a deal without explanation. Another client asked who designed his core system. He had no answer that sounded real anymore. His assistant placed a printed report in front of him. A consulting firm had just solved a failing infrastructure in under 1 hour. He read the name twice before it settled in his chest. A. Brooks. His fingers tightened around the paper, something deeper shifting inside him now. Not confusion, not control, something closer to realization. Somewhere else, people were already seeing what he had ignored. And for the first time, he understood this was no longer about fixing his company. It was about catching up to a truth he could not outrun, because the next time he saw her, it would not be in his world anymore. The elevator doors opened into a quiet executive floor downtown. Ethan stepped out, slower than usual, eyes scanning unfamiliar walls. The company logo ahead was not his, but it was growing fast. Inside the glass conference room, voices paused as he entered. Not loud, not dramatic, just a shift in air. Amara stood at the far end of the table, reviewing a report. She did not look surprised to see him there. A director beside her leaned in slightly and whispered, "We can reschedule if you prefer." She shook her head once, calm, controlled. "No, let him stay," she said, without raising her voice. Ethan felt it immediately, the difference he could not explain. Chairs that once turned toward him now stayed angled toward her. A senior partner stood as she moved, offering her the head seat without question. No one did that for her before. He noticed that. He could not ignore it. "We just implemented your structure," the CTO said to her. "It reduced failure rates by 80% overnight." Ethan blinked, the number landing heavier than expected. She nodded once, like it was simply work, nothing more. He stepped forward, trying to find the version of her he used to know. "Amara, we need to talk," he said, voice tighter than he intended. She glanced at him briefly, then back to the screen. "You can speak after the meeting," she replied, steady, without emotion. The room did not question her. The meeting continued around him, and for the first time, he was not the center of it. He stood there, waiting, watching others listen to her, defer to her, trust her decisions. When it ended, people gathered around her, not him. A young analyst approached her carefully. "I studied your framework last night," he said. "It is different, better." She gave a small nod, acknowledging, not absorbing praise. Ethan stepped closer again, impatience breaking through. "You built that system, did you not?" he asked quietly. This time she looked at him fully. No anger, no softness, just distance. "I built what was needed," she said. The answer did not belong to him anymore. He exhaled, something inside him shifting again, deeper this time. "Why did you never tell me?" he pressed. She tilted her head slightly, almost thoughtful. "You were not listening," she said simply. The words landed harder than anything else. Around them, people moved, but the space between them stayed still. He realized then she was no longer trying to be seen by him. She already was, just not for him. And as he stood there, watching her walk out of the room with others following her lead, one thought began to settle in his chest, heavier than before. If she built everything he stood on, what else had she walked away with that he had not even begun to understand? The next morning, her name appeared on every internal briefing slide. Not loud, not announced, but impossible to ignore anymore. A major client requested her presence for a private strategy session. She walked in, calm, carrying nothing but a tablet. The room stood when she entered, not out of habit, but respect. Ethan watched from the far end, uninvited, unnoticed at first. "We need stability across all systems within 48 hours, a client said. She nodded once, already moving through solutions before they finished speaking. Within minutes, she mapped out a recovery structure no one else could see. "This prevents cascading failure before it starts," she explained simply. The client leaned forward, impressed without hiding it. "Can you implement this today?" She did not hesitate. "Give me 3 hours," she said. The room shifted again, faster this time, like gravity had changed direction. Ethan felt it clearly now, that pull away from him. His phone buzzed with another update, another contract delayed indefinitely. He checked his numbers, but they no longer moved the way they used to. Across the table, someone asked her a question he should have answered. "How did you design something this adaptable?" She paused, just long enough to choose her words. "I built it to survive failure, not avoid it," she said. No one questioned her authority. No one looked to Ethan for confirmation. That silence said more than anything else in the room. A senior investor turned slightly, studying her with quiet interest. "We have not seen this level of foresight before," he said. "We should talk about a long-term position." The offer was not subtle. It was clear, direct, and meant to be heard. Ethan shifted in his seat, something inside him tightening again. He was not being consulted. He was being replaced in conversations that used to belong to him. Later, in the hallway, he caught a fragment of conversation between two analysts. "She is the reason their system held together last year," one whispered. "Not him." The word stayed with him longer than he expected. He looked at her again, really looked this time, not as his wife, but as something he had failed to see. "You were doing all of this behind the scenes," he said quietly when he reached her. She adjusted her tablet, not slowing down. "No," she replied. "I was doing what needed to be done." He felt it then, clearly. He no longer defined her role, her value, or her place. She had already stepped beyond that. Behind them, a board member approached her directly. "We would like to review the original foundation you built," he said. "The one your current system evolved from." She stopped for the first time, just for a second. Then she looked at him, not surprised, just certain. "That foundation is not where you think it is," she said. Ethan froze, something deeper shifting into place. If the system he built was only a version of her work, then what was the original, and why had he never seen it before? He did not go back to his office that night. He went to the archives instead. Old files, old systems, things no one checked anymore. The room smelled like dust and forgotten decisions. Ethan sat down, pulling up the earliest version of his company code, the one he always called his breakthrough moment. He opened the base file slowly, almost careful now. Lines of code appeared, clean, structured, precise in a way he never questioned before. He scrolled deeper, past his own edits, past surface layers. Then he saw it. A different structure underneath everything he claimed as his own. The architecture was not his style. It was quieter, more efficient, almost invisible by design. His name sat on top of it. But the foundation was not his. His fingers hovered, unsure for the first time in years. A timestamp caught his attention. It was from a night he barely remembered. The night before his first investor signed. He searched his messages from that week. One conversation stood out, short, simple, ignored at the time. "I fixed the instability. You should be fine now." It was from her. No explanation. No credit. Just a solution. He leaned back, breath uneven, something inside him shifting hard now. Another file opened, then another, each one leading deeper. Every major update traced back to changes he did not fully understand before. A pattern formed, clear, undeniable. She was not assisting him. She was stabilizing everything he built on top of her work. His chest tightened, not from pressure, but from clarity hitting too late. A voice behind him broke the silence. It was his senior engineer, standing in the doorway. "You are finally seeing it, right?" the man said quietly. Ethan did not respond immediately. The engineer stepped closer, pointing at the screen. Every time the system should have failed, it did not. That was not luck. He paused, letting it settle. That was her. The words landed heavier than any loss report. Ethan looked back at the code, but it did not look the same anymore. It looked like something he had taken without understanding. His biggest success, the one he built his name on, was not what he thought it was. It was built on something he never saw, because he never looked. His confidence did not crack this time. It shifted into something quieter, heavier, harder to carry. Regret began to take shape, slow but certain. He stood up, not rushing, not hesitating anymore. Across the city, Amara closed her laptop, her work done for the day. Calm, steady, untouched by what he was just beginning to understand. Ethan grabbed his coat, decision settling in his chest like something final. Because now he knew the truth was not small. It was everything. And the next time he saw her, it would not be to question, It would be to face what he had taken, what he had lost, and what he might never get back. He did not wait for a meeting this time. He went straight to her building that night. The lobby lights were softer, quieter than his world. A receptionist looked up, polite but cautious. "Do you have an appointment?" she asked. He hesitated, something he never used to do. "No, but she knows me," he said quickly. The woman typed her name, then paused slightly. "She is in a session," she replied. "You can wait." He nodded, pacing near the glass wall, watching people move with purpose. No one looked at him twice. That was new. Minutes stretched longer than they should have. Then the elevator doors opened, and she stepped out. Calm, focused, already speaking with a colleague beside her. The man nodded to her with clear respect. "I will send the revised numbers tonight," he said. She gave a small nod, then turned slightly, noticing Ethan without surprise. "You should not be here without notice," she said simply. No anger, no tension, just a statement. He stepped closer, urgency breaking through his voice. "I needed to see you," he said. She did not move toward him. She did not step back either. Just still, balanced, in control. "You have seen me," she replied. The space between them stayed steady, not closing, not shifting. He ran a hand through his hair, searching for words he never needed before. "I know now," he said, voice lower. "About the system. About everything you did." She watched him, not reacting, not filling the silence for him. That silence pressed harder than any argument. "You built it," he added, almost uncertain now. "You kept it alive." She tilted her head slightly, calm as ever. "I built what needed to exist," she said again. Same words, different weight this time. A security staff member walked closer, not aggressive, just present. "Is everything all right here?" he asked her, not him. That detail did not go unnoticed. "Everything is fine," she said, without looking away from Ethan. The guard stepped back, but stayed near. Ethan exhaled slowly, something slipping further out of his control. "Come back," he said, the words sharper than intended. "We can fix this. I can fix this." For the first time, her expression shifted, not with anger, but clarity. "There is nothing to fix," she said. "You are only seeing what you chose to ignore." He stepped closer again, but she raised her hand slightly. Not dramatic, just enough to stop him. And it worked. "You do not get to reach for me now," she continued, voice steady. "Not after you decided what I was." The words landed clean, final, without emotion. He froze, something breaking quietly beneath his composure. People passed behind them, some glancing, most not. Her world kept moving without him. "I was wrong," he said, softer now. "I see that." She held his gaze for a moment, then shook her head once. "Seeing it now does not change when it mattered," she replied. Another colleague approached her, holding a folder. "They are ready for you upstairs," he said. She nodded, turning slightly away from Ethan without hesitation. That small movement said everything. He was no longer part of her direction. "This is not over," he said, almost to himself. She paused, just briefly, then spoke without turning back. "It already is," she said. And as she stepped into the elevator, leaving him standing there with nothing to hold on to, he realized the next time they spoke would not be about understanding. It would be about consequences he could no longer avoid. The room was smaller this time, quieter than everything before. No audience, no screens, no one to hide behind anymore. She stood by the window, looking out at the city lights. He stepped in slowly, closing the door behind him. No hesitation left now, only truth he could not avoid. "I know what you did," he said, voice steady but heavy. She did not turn right away, letting the silence sit between them. "You finally see it," she replied, calm as ever. He took a step closer, but not too close. That distance stayed, like something permanent now. "It was never mine," he said. "Everything I built, it was you." She turned then, meeting his eyes without emotion. "No," she said softly. "It was always yours to lose." The words settled deep, leaving no room for denial. He exhaled slowly, shoulders dropping in a way they never had before. "I called you a burden," he said, almost like he needed to hear it himself. She did not interrupt, did not soften the moment for him. "And you believed that," she replied, "until it became easier than seeing me." He nodded once, the truth landing without resistance now. "I did not understand what I had," he said. "You did not try to," she answered. No anger, just clarity that could not be undone. He looked at her, really looked this time, not searching, not assuming. Just seeing what was already gone. Is there anything left between us? He asked quietly. She held his gaze, steady, unshaken. No, she said. Just one word. Clean. Final. The room felt different after that, like something had closed for good. He swallowed, something breaking without sound this time. I would do it differently now, he said. She shook her head once. Not unkind, just certain. That version of me does not exist anymore, she replied. He stood there, realizing fully what he had lost. Not just her, but the part of himself that stood beside her. Outside, the city moved like nothing had changed. Inside, everything had. You do not belong in my future, she added, voice steady. And I am not going back to your past. There was nothing left to argue with, nothing left to reach for. He nodded slowly, accepting what he could not change. She turned back, toward the window, already stepping away without moving. He stayed there a moment longer, then reached for the door. As his hand touched the handle, she spoke one last time, quiet but clear. You were never building alone, she said. He paused, breath catching just slightly, because now he understood the weight of that truth. And as he walked out, he knew the next time he saw her would not be about them. It would be about everything she had become without him. Morning light filled the new office, soft and steady across glass walls. Amara stood near the window, reviewing a report without urgency. Her name now sat at the top of decisions that shaped entire systems. People moved around her with quiet trust, not hesitation or doubt. A director approached, waiting before speaking, giving her space first. The board approved your structure for the national rollout, he said. She nodded once, calm, already thinking beyond that moment. There was no need to prove anything anymore. Her work spoke before she ever entered a room now. Across the city, Ethan sat in a quieter office than before. Fewer calls came in, fewer people waited outside his door. The screen still worked, but they felt different to him now. He understood them in a way that made them heavier. Every success he once claimed now carried a second meaning. He did not correct anyone when they still used his name. But he knew. That was enough. A report sat open in front of him, her name mentioned again. Not loudly, not praised, just present where it mattered most. He leaned back, exhaling slowly. No anger left, no fight to hold on to. Only understanding, settling in where certainty used to be. Months earlier, he stood under bright lights, defining her with a single word. Now, no room allowed him to define her at all. She had moved beyond that space completely. In another building, another meeting, she spoke briefly, then stepped back. Others continued from her direction, not needing her to stay. That was the difference now. She was not holding things together anymore. She had built something that stood without her constant presence. Later that evening, she stepped outside alone, the city stretching wide around her. No noise followed her, no past reached for her. Just quiet, open space, and a future already in motion. She did not look back. She did not need to. Across town, Ethan stood by his window, watching lights flicker on one by one. Not searching for her, not expecting anything anymore. Just standing there, finally seeing what had always been in front of him. The distance between them was no longer something to close. It was something that defined the truth. He had learned too late what she had always been, and she had already become everything without needing him to see it.